Okay, in today's video, I'm going to be painting roses using my new watercolor flower pairing guide. And this is completely free for you to download. If you go to www.snowberrydesignco.com/now, you'll be able to find it. There are 5 popular flowers featured in this. And if you struggle knowing which flowers to pair with your main focal flowers in your compositions, this guide is meant to give you some suggestions kind of as a jumping off point for that. So I'm going to be painting roses today. So to start out, I always like to spray down my paints with plain water. And I have the plain water just in my squirt bottle. This just helps the paint soften up so it's ready to go. Oh, it looks like I lost some paint. We'll just put that right back where it's supposed to go. Anyway, this just will soften up the paint so that when I go to pick up pigment, I'm not like working too hard to try and pick some up. And I've been loving this brilliant pink lately by Holbein. Also feeling all of the fall vibes lately. It's a million degrees outside, but I am just so ready for fall. So the color I just picked up here at the top is called, oh, I just blinked on the name. I totally just blinked. I want to say it's, oh, English Red Earth. That's what it's called. And it's by Daniel Smith. It's such a pretty color. I love it in fall color schemes. You could probably easily mix that color from some other colors if you don't want to go out and buy it, but it's a good one. Now, I try to be pretty good about talking about what colors I'm using and what colors I'm mixing, but sometimes I just get in the zone of painting and I just forget. So if I forget, go to my Amazon store and I've got a full list of all the paints that I use in there if you're interested in checking those out. Okay, so this rose is kind of turning into a blob. I'm gonna let it dry and then I'll go back in and add details later, but I'm gonna try not to mess with it too much right now because I don't want to overwork it. Sometimes if you overwork it, there's no saving it, but if you just let it dry and trust that you'll be able to save it later, that's what I like to kind of do. So I'm painting these 2 roses. One's more this side-facing rose. And then I've got this forward-facing kind of one over here. All right, that's pretty good for now. Now I'm gonna kind of look and see what fillers to add in here. I've got wax flower, forget-me-not, spray roses, or ranunculus that I can kind of choose from. And I think I'm going to go with wax flower. And I'm using yellow ochre because of that fall kind of color scheme that I'm going with. I'll just kind of add them in here. Now I get a lot of questions about how to paint roses. If you're curious on how to paint roses, I've got a mini course available. It's $30 and I just go into a little more detail on how I paint forward-facing roses and side-facing roses. So different angles, and then we put together a couple of compositions using roses. So if you're interested in that, I'll have a link down in the description box below, or you can head to my website, Snowberry Design Co, to learn more about that. Alright, I've got that wax flower in place, and next I'm going to do some spray roses. I think I'm going to make those a little bit darker. Just because rosebuds always seem to look a little bit darker before they open up. So that's what I'm kind of going for here. So when this video comes out, I'll actually have a brand new online course available. I know, I'm just talking about all my online courses. It's because they're fresh in my mind, so that's why I'm bringing them up. But I just published a new online course. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Watercolor Flower Composition. I'm really excited about it. If you struggle knowing how to put flowers together in finished compositions, this one is for you. I go into a lot of detail of go-to compositions that work every single time. I talk about mixing colors and how to incorporate color in your composition that kind of works. So if you're interested in that, again, I will have a link down in the description box below. Lots of things happening right now, which are really exciting. Just gonna tap some of this red into the edges here. I always think that tapping in a little bit of color while the paint is still wet just adds this really beautiful element to the finished piece. Okay, now my wax flower is mostly dry, so I'm actually going to go in there first. And I'm going to add in some stems. Adding greenery seems to be really tricky a lot of times, and I like to start where everything makes sense. So what I mean by that is I know I'm going to be adding in stems, so that's a really easy place to start. Sometimes when you're adding in those other elements, it can get tricky just because you don't have a clear picture of what that's going to look like. So I always start with what's obvious and then kind of go from there. Now the next obvious choice is going to be the stems for my spray roses. And I'm kind of using a mixture of all of the greens I have on my palette right now. So I've got sap green, perylene green, I've got permanent green, and then I have the phthalo green blue shade. I can never say that. I'm also going to add in a little bit of that quinacridone gold. Just warm it up a little bit, and I'm actually going to add in a little bit of that Rose Doré. adding red to green just kind of helps tone everything down, which I like. And where this is a fall color scheme, I really want the greens to be muted. I don't want those to be kind of the hero. I'm gonna wait to add kind of the greens around my buds because I can tell that that paint is still wet and I don't want the green to seep into that nice color. Most of the time I don't care, like obviously I've got green seeping in over here and everything, but in this case I'm just going to leave it be. Now while those dry, I'm going to add in one more little element. So I've added in my basic leaves over here. I'm going to add in kind of a hybrid of these two, just kind of like a smaller sprig. I'm going to do that in this kind of maroon color. This is Paraline Maroon, which I've recently added to my palette and I love it. I love it. I would love to hear what you would like to see more videos of. I always do this. I always get my arm in this Pyrrole Scarlet every single time. It does not even matter what I'm painting or how careful I'm being. I always get my arm in it. Now that I've added in this green, I can tell that I need maybe just another little touch of green somewhere. So I'm just going to add in a little bit there. I don't want to overdo it with the green, but I did feel like it needed just a little touch. And now this rose in the middle is all dry, so we're gonna go back and try and save it, like I mentioned in the beginning. And I'm doing that just by adding a second layer of color right over the top to kind of give it that dimension that was lacking on that first layer, which I think it's going to be fine. I like adding just a deeper color right in the center where the petals would be really tight together. Just kind of helps everything feel a little bit more realistic. Okay, and now last, I'm gonna add details to these fall leaves. And I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I'm using a size 10 round brush. You can just always assume that I'm using a medium-sized round brush. I use them like 80% of the time. And this one is the Princeton Velvetouch. which you can find on Amazon or Hobby Lobby. They're kind of everywhere, which is nice. Okay, I'm all finished with this. So if you would like the watercolor flower pairing guide, go ahead and download that over on snowberrydesignco.com/now. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you liked the video. I post a new YouTube video every single week. Thanks again for watching. Bye!